Let's focus, I guess, on an example, because I think it's always good to give a sense of actually what the outcome is and what you feel you've done to move the needle for that individual. So, do you want to talk about a particular example of one of your alumni?
I can give you loads, but I think one that's really fresh in my mind is memories on the 2016 cohort. I remember I only joined in 2018, 2017. I was around observing the program. So I've known this person now for 3 years. Her name's Dr. Leanne Armitage. And when we say doctor, we're talking about a general practitioner. And she grew up on a housing estate in Peckham, and she saw someone being stabbed on her estate. Rushed out with someone with blood around them, clearly being stabbed. And at that time, I think she was 15. Yeah. But it triggered in her that she wanted to be a doctor. She wanted to be able to save someone who had just been stabbed. She didn't know what to do. She felt helpless. Now, most people will actually run in the other direction, but her first thoughts was, how can I do this? And she has strived and worked really hard to get herself through school, university, being the top of her class, all the way through to working in St. George's to become a doctor. Now, that in itself sounds fantastic, but let me just tell you a little bit more about Leanne. So Leanne then decided to set up her own foundation called Leanne's Amazing Medic, where she goes into school with stethoscopes and teaches year 10s what it means to be a doctor, how you can save lives. Now, for me, that sort of stuff is legendary.
Yeah.
And Leanne being on our program really blossomed, really came out of herself and got to meet people who were like her, ambitious, educated, and particularly that 2016 cohort, they just push each other. Just literally push each other to keep moving forward. And as I said, she's on the front lines of COVID, and now has got a place at a hospital down in Kent.
And
she also was recognised. She was also recognised for the Queen's Young Leaders Award.
Okay.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Brilliant. And as you said at the beginning, you've got many, many examples of that. And I think we've certainly seen the many examples of that from what we've shared with you and your team over the last few months as we've got to know you. Talk me a little bit through the program, because it sounds like a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah. It's fun, but it is hard work. So I think particularly last 2 years cohorts who have been through, and with me at the helm, it really is. It is about having a lot of fun, but it's also about discipline, getting yourself ready for the workplace, whether you're going to be an entrepreneur or you're going into corporate life or you're going into medicine. And some of the rules of business are not necessarily always taught at schools and university. The things like, actually, if you turn up to a lecture late, 9 times out of 10 the lecturer is going to let you in. Yeah. If you turn up to a meeting late, the impact it can have on your business is actually quite severe. So I do that from day one. I make sure they understand that if they're late, they're going to be doing press-ups in front of everyone else, or they're not going to come in the room. And it is, it seems a harsh lesson. We do have a little bit of fun with it, but they do remember it. And at the end of the first day, no one generally is late on the second day. However, I did have a guy who was late once, and he was probably a couple of minutes late, and he was sweating. He really was. He was just covered. And I said to him, look, why are you late? We went through this yesterday. This is unacceptable. He said, sorry, sir, I tried to call you, but the train got stopped between Manchester and Coventry. I was like, sorry? He said, it's very expensive to stay in London, but I have to go home every night and then come back. What do you say? What do you say?
Yeah, take a seat, I think is what you're saying.
Yeah, but it just kind of gets into their mindset how important something like this is. And on the program, we give them a business challenge question, which typically you give to a first-year hire in a consulting firm. Put them into groups of 6 of people they've never met before, get them to work with a mentor, and then deliver at the end of 3 days their solution. And this year, whilst it was virtual, we had a team that went away and developed a microsite, to go to government to talk to them about how they could handle COVID. And just to start to think about their young minds and how creative they are and how different they think to me and to yourself and the solutions that they come. That's why we do this, because I know that the output that these young people will have needs to be heard and needs to be seen. And all we're doing really is doing some polishing.
Yeah. And question that's often asked, so I'm sure you've got an answer to this. And if you fast forward, if we go forward now to 2025 and the Aleto Foundation is still here growing, what does it look like in 5 years' time to you?
Yeah, well, I mean, we've seen some great growth this year with the introduction of our mentoring program, which is a 9-month mentoring program. We partner our mentee with a corporate mentor. And for me, that's significant because whilst the young people come through the Aleto Foundation, they do need to know that there are allies out there who really want to work with them and who do actually have their best interests at heart. That's been a great step forward. Next year, we're already committed to doing 2 leadership programs, and we have another 2 on the agenda, which are outside of London. So for me, it's always been my ambition to be national. And furthermore, yeah, and you're hearing this first, is that I'd like to do a program that includes international experience. So we take the top 10 and we get them to interview, and we then start to look by working with different companies internationally, put them on a 3-day program in Africa somewhere, 3-day program in the Americas, in Europe, and then back here. So when they then go for their job or they're in their job and the MD asks them what they've been doing, well, look, I learned this through the Aleto program. I learned this from my mentor who works in this industry. And, for the last, 12 months, I've visited 3 different continents. And these are the business skills that I've learned. And you tell me there's no talent out there, come on. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've given them everything that they need at an early age. They already have the ideas, so they can actually start to influence change. And 5 years down the road, 2025, if I could pull off 50 solid leaders like that, to come to the FTSE 100 and help the Parker Review achieve its aims,
yeah,
for me, it's then golden.
And I assume you're tracking those people. I mean, you're tracking your alumni from the beginning of Aleto all the way through, so you can begin to see where people are.
Yeah, and you know what's good about that is it does show you how far we've come, and also it gives credibility behind what we're doing as an organisation. So when I look at my tracking footprint spreadsheet, and I see the universities that people have been to, from Birmingham to Warwick to Cambridge to Oxford to Loughborough, to Exeter, they go into all the universities, and East Anglia, not necessarily all Russell Group, but the majority Russell Group universities, to what they're doing today, working in the investment banks like Goldman, working for large financial service organisations, law firms, Alan Overy of this world, medics, it's just fantastic. It's great to see that. Had you asked me 5 years ago, would I have seen? No, I honestly would not believe that I would have seen that level of quality people who are young, come for a program like this from the background they've been in. It's fantastic.
You've touched on a couple of times your relationship with partners, and obviously we've chosen to become a partner, and we're proud of that decision as an organisation to partner with the Aleto Foundation. Tell me a bit about the importance of partnerships.
Yeah, for me, before I answer that, Nick, I'd want to say that not everyone can be a partner with Aleto. Yeah, and that's important because the people who we bring on board, I'm interviewing you from the minute we start talking. I'm trying to understand the psyche behind why you want to get involved with us, why it is that you're interested in partnering or sponsorship. And if it is because your organisation is in their plan that you need to support someone, and Aleto is that charity that fits, then actually you're not for me. You need to be deeper than that. You really need to understand what we're trying to develop and where we are going with this. And we're trying to create a society that reflects all of us, and therefore the leadership cadre that comes through can actually start to be in those seats of power. So that's important. Partners are important because it costs money to do exactly what we are doing. And as a charity, historically, we survived on donations from our trustees, and now we're working with partners who believe in what we are doing, who are helping to fund that as well. But also for the young people, it's important that they get a sense of what it's like working in the world of work. What's it like to be on a journey from being a grad for a grad scheme to navigate in their career. And who better to do it with than someone who's already in an organisation? And for me, I think I've said this to you before, you've got an element of distrust between young people from tough reality backgrounds and organisations, because they don't necessarily believe that they belong there. There's a lot of imposter syndrome, and they're just waiting to think, oh, when am I going to be tapped on the shoulder and found out? Meanwhile, they're actually working quite hard to do what it is that they need to do to progress. And I think with partners like yourself at Boyden's and the others that we've got on board, what is great is that you're giving them that confidence. So we give them one level of confidence and they'll believe what we say, but they'll believe it even more when they're working one-to-one with someone like yourself.